Know Your Candidate. Presented by Portland is Possible, broadcasted by XRAY FM. In this segment, we offer a brief background on the visionary candidates that are proudly standing and running for the acclaimed Portland Area City Council. For now, we have a candidate of District 4 that incorporates downtown, Slabtown, Chinatown, Lincoln, Hillsdale, Eastmoreland, Goose Hollow, and the Pearl District.
My name is Silkie, and I am running for Portland City Council in District 4.
What is important to you when considering how to spur the local economy and improve outcomes for local business owners?
It's really important to think about it in terms of equity and in terms of how do we make that business growth available to a wide range of people. And it's important to balance the different interests in the city and make sure that we're not just focused on businesses downtown or just in one district. Those are kind of the main considerations. And I guess we also need to, when you talk about boosting the small businesses, which of course is super important, people talk about it in terms of cutting taxes or in terms of incentives. And so as soon as you start talking about the money part of it, you've got to balance what the trade-offs are. So are we cutting taxes to the point that we can't provide basic services? What does it mean to support small businesses? Part of that support is making sure that we provide enough city services that they have the infrastructure they need to do well.
Where do you see art institutions in 20 years? How are they different than today?
I see them thriving, and I see them both more racially and culturally diverse than they are right now. And I see a wider range of people involved with them. Again, making sure that even people who aren't wealthy, have access and have a little bit of free time to enjoy doing things like art. Because right now, for a lot of people, it's kind of a grind, and finding the time to go and express yourself in an artistic way is really challenging.
In 30 years, how do you see the average Portlander getting where they need to be in town?
I see in 30 years, we'll see where the technology goes, but at least within the core city, I imagine that we will have a place where you can leave behind whatever vehicle it takes to get to the inner part of the city, and from there you go on to either public transit and having a nice, clean, well-established transit system so you can get where you need to go, and then there being easily protected walking and biking areas. And I think there's, as somebody who every time I start biking again, I seem to injure myself. So I got an e-bike earlier this year and was really enjoying riding. And then on Father's Day, I made crepes in a cast iron skillet and got tennis elbow, though I never play tennis. And every time I ride my bike, it hurts because of the grip thing. Anyways, I think a lot of it's great when you are physically able to bike and walk everywhere, but we need to provide ways of getting around for people who are not as physically abled. And so I see scooters and little maybe mini electric bikes that are a little more easy for somebody who maybe doesn't have the same core strength to get around, or the little floating things that you just lean and move forward. Anyways, I think there's a lot of potential for a electric-based and active-based instead of fossil fuel-based transportation.
What in your background demonstrates how your approach in implementing visionary ideas?
This example is a little bit wonky because I environmental engineer in background. So in working at the Water Bureau, there was the way we were testing for a pathogen as an indicator organism didn't really tell us if it was harmful to humans or not. And I had read about a method that would tell us if it was harmful or not. And the way I got it to happen was I talked to people within my bureau. I talked to researchers at different universities. I talked to the regulator at OHA. I talked to the people who have to collect the samples. And so there was just a lot of reaching out about, here's this idea, how do we make it practical? How do we make it doable? How do we show that it works? And eventually I was able to convince, get the data and convince the state that it would be better to use this new method, and that is what is used now. So,
how can the city best support visionary public-private community projects?
I have actually been working in the permitting section for the last 2 years, representing the Water Bureau. So thinking about in the public right-of-ways of these developments, what improvements would need to be made to the water system. And so I've seen firsthand how challenging and sometimes conflicting our guidance is for new development. Visionary and exciting, or other, just your basic development. And one of the things that we can do for both these partnerships and for anybody who's trying to build something in Portland is to simplify our rules, make them take into account the common good. So I'm not saying throw out our rules and let people build whatever they want. I'm saying make it attainable and then make it consistent. So right now, our rules are pretty restrictive. They're very specific, but anybody can get an exception to pretty much, anybody who has time, money, and access can get an exception and build something that is contrary to what our basic rules are. And I think to reform that, we need to have rules that are applicable to everybody. And I think right now the city does have a decent, we work with Prosper Portland, and city employees spend a lot of time working with these, getting these visions together and going through the master planning thing. I think if we can speed it up, which would be the reform, would make a huge difference.
Lightning round. What place in town that more people should know about?
Rimsky Course Coffee House.
If you had $5 million, what is one thing you would buy for Portland?
More ADA ramps.
Where do you get your coffee?
When I'm downtown, I get it at Spella, and in my neighborhood, I get it at Driftwood.
If you could wave a magic wand to make one thing happen in Portland, what would you do?
Housing for everyone.
Should Portland offer a universal basic income for artists?
If we offer a universal basic income, it should be available to any profession, including artists.
So now you know your candidate, or a bit about them. We like to thank the visionary candidates, also like to especially thank all the volunteers and organizations that put this together. We couldn't do this without you. To look at each candidate, be a good Portland citizen, and to be a dashing and informed voter, listen to X-Ray FM to learn about ballots and the new ranked choice voting system. And check out portlandpossible.org.